All right, who's not dead? Sound off.
This is Burnt Marshwiggle, hosted by Joshua David Ling and Alexander Robertson. A long-form podcast about metaphysics and swampy stuff. Whenever the heck they want to make one. Here on the Poets at War Creative Network.
I'm a burnt Marshwiggle, but my spirit's lit. Realities are real, but I won't quit. Imagine the real, I choose what I feel. Donnie in my heart, that's the realest deal.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We're working on it.
You got the best excuse in the world.
Right. Well, I what's it called? As I was driving away from home, I did see Xfinity trucks working in an area that they normally are working in when it goes out. So, hopefully it might even be back on tonight. So we'll see.
Cool.
But yep,
Sounds good.
just started recording.
So, how are things down there in Georgia?
Other than the fact that half of Augusta is still complaining about having internet out and generally has bad attitudes, and there's giant you can't even wrap your arms around them trees piled up on every street corner. I mean piled, some of them 9-10 feet high. Just absolutely piled. Not a whole lot of difference, just, see a lot more trucks moving around, both for tree service and for what's it called, internet usually. But there are still some power companies and stuff. They had like 8 or I think a dozen different states that were sending trucks and crews to help. That's how intense the infrastructure was messed up, because everything's above ground here, because why not? So that's kind of how it ended up working out. I wanted to sit somewhere comfortable tonight. I'm hoping that
Makes sense.
I'm hoping that my Wi-Fi connection is good in this room. It is so far for me getting you, but I'm saying upload. So okay.
Is that like the youth room? I see games in the background.
It's what would be the youth room if we had youth. We refer to it as the corner pocket because it was an addition when the church was booming back in the, I want to say late 90s, for the youth specifically. And so it's used for the Sunday school children that are over 12, I want to say. So they come back here and do Sunday school here, and then otherwise it's just kind of used for informal meetings and stuff at the moment. So
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yep, we have amazing facilities. I've actually offered to buy this couch several times. I love this couch. They haven't ever taken me up on it. They have legitimately, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 donated couches in this one room.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, let's see if I can show you.
Couches are the superior form of seating.
I thought you hated couches.
Seating.
All right. There's one.
Nice. Good love seat.
Around. You're going to go kind of under the TV there. And there's so we got the 1.
Okay.
2, we got 3, 4, 5 with me. Excuse me, there's 6 in here. So, yeah.
Yep.
But
very nice.
Yeah. So it's fine. Hello, Brendan.
We have a chaotic sun.
We do.
I'm wearing black again, which means my shirt's going to disappear again because I can't remember.
He's wearing black too. It's fine. I'm wearing black. It's fine. We'll figure it out. Let me see what that's looking like just to see. How are you, Brendan? No one's black shirts are cutting as far as, because it's pure black it's looking for. It's looking for 100% black. Yours might be cutting a little bit, Brendan, but not much. So
No, mine
anyway.
has every time.
Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Good to have you all here.
Glad I actually made it on time this time.
Yep, we're all here. And we're just kind of recording and talking about whatever. Obviously, I have lots to update people on with the nonsense in my neck of the woods. But I just
are we
just
doing a variety show?
Kind of,
Like,
sort of.
just rambly, whatever we're
it's
talking
gonna
about?
be under. It's gonna be under Burt Marshwiggle, but it's really just us three. Like I said, kind of going. After the hurricane that only affected me, but still. Okay, who's alive? Who's here? Hello.
He's talking to Joshua and Brent.
So are you wanting to actually do that meme? Like,
how so?
Do the thing where
as like a little intro, the intro bit before the theme song.
Yeah, exactly. Just play that short clip of, all right, sound off, who's alive?
Yeah, maybe just play the clip. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, playing the clip would probably be better because it might we'd have to have a script in front of us and each say the lines. Yeah.
What I would do is I would start with like 2 seconds of just blackened silence and then do the sound off.
Match,
all right, who's alive?
All right, sound off. Who's not dead?
Yep. So good.
Nice. Great.
All right.
Movie.
So basically, I figured that we would do I can either be main event or first off. I want to hear how things are going with y'all. Kind of just catch up. I don't have anything super specific outside of those things other than one artistic update during all this nonsense. Part of the workflows inspired a few things for me for Jubal's wardrobe in particular. So we can get to that, but yeah. What do we have to talk about outside of that? Anyone want to start first, or do you want me to start first and just see where things go, or what do you guys think?
At some point in time, I want to check in with you and Daniel on the progress that I've made for Homeschool Harry Potter, because I don't want to start naming countries without talking to you guys first, and that's the point where I'm at.
Right, and
we
Brendan
also need to have some discussion about like religion and how closely we want to mirror Europe, because that will also change the world building.
Right. Yes, and so we can talk a little bit about that, especially because that's supposed to be this week. As far as that goes, but excuse me, we're gonna get back on track with all that.
Creators and Crusaders.
Last week was supposed to be Creators and Crusaders.
Got it. Okay.
At least I think it's the second
and you
week.
Posted
second Friday.
mildly toasted beaver.
Yes.
Instead.
Yeah. So, it just makes him smile every time.
It's great.
Listen, I love my mildly toasted beaver.
Mildly toasted beaver is a delicacy.
Truly the most delicate of delicacies.
Daniel, did you have anything that you wanted to discuss outside of whatever comes up? Kind of. We'll see. You're a rabbit trail kind of guy.
I mean, I'm just here for the vibes.
There you go. The dark vibes in your dark apartment.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that actually looked like a little like horror face like that.
All right. So Brendan, did you have anything? I just wanted to make sure I give everyone a chance to say something and plan on talking about later.
I mean, I don't feel comfortable saying anything about anything for me until we do my Creators and Crusaders episode.
Okay.
I'm moving right now, so life is, I say I'm moving. We're closing on the house literally tomorrow. And so I am a little aggravated.
Preoccupied?
Yeah, well, I'm also frustrated because, like, Kristen has decided that this is going to be the week that he undergoes some serious changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't get any of my work for Dad done today like I was going to because we needed to put him to bed immediately as soon as we got home. As soon as we were done eating. So
Remind me, do I still have voiceover stuff to do for you or no?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
You have my bump out that I want made for audio work for Dad, not the commercial, the other thing for my branding, and me trying to be subtle, and
ooh, not your father's, very nice.
Yeah, and then
he's got not your father's,
and then there is my dad's ad that you wanted to do a read through of, and I liked both of them. They're both really good. Whatever you think.
We have a Debbie.
Hello, Debbie.
Hello, Debbie.
Good to see you.
I am painting a black base because I have nothing else to do with my hands.
It's a shepherd black base.
Yes, it is a shepherd. Very good.
Very nice.
It is a mushroom shepherd, but it's a shepherd.
I should have. My brain is now kicking into gear that I have food processing in my system. I've been for the last couple months just busy setting my professional life up and trying to take a couple steps up that ladder. And so I've not really had time to pursue creative stuff. Now that I'm getting back into it, I'm seeing my draft of my current partial draft of The Maiden's Child, and I'm really just trying to figure out where to go from where I'm at. So if y'all can maybe like give me a creative kick in the butt, whatever that might look like, that'd be cool too.
I'll see what we can do.
What about a physical kick in the butt?
That might take a while.
I mean, I was expecting that from Brendan.
No, I
just have a road trip.
I just get annoyed with you and try to tell you to keep yourself in check.
Stop it.
Yep.
But
it is appreciated.
Who are you stabbing?
My sister, Raya. Oh. She keeps stabbing me.
Oh.
Toy swords, people. For those on audio. So, I guess I can go ahead and start with Hurricane, and we can just see how things peter out from there. So basically, yeah, I wish Peter was here. He's back at home right now. I'm at church, so that's part of the thing. Our internet is still out, waiting for it to be returned. The church's internet is back, which is why I'm here late at 8:30 recording. Basically, the main the main storyline essentially goes like this. I think it was close to the second that it hit. I don't remember exactly. But if anyone wants to look it up, they can. But something like that. We woke up, Casey and I, around 1 a.m. To just, branches and stuff pelting our house. It was just really, really crazy. And, we were like, okay, it's a scary wind, whatever. We'll keep the kids in bed unless they wake up, and we'll just be up because our adrenaline's rushing. And, our house has a ton of trees around it for anyone who's seen it. Big, tall, 30-foot pines and stuff like that. And so we were pretty scared, but like we've been through some storms. From 1 to 9, we were up in our little hallway, with doors closed and, away from windows and whatever else under good, strong, solid middle beams of the house. And, just praying and singing and being terrified at every gust. And it sounded like absolute machine gun fire, hitting our house, the branches and stuff. It was really, really, really scary. We wake up and our whole yard is trashed. And we come to find out, through listening to radio, the storm radio, because power's knocked out, everything. We come to find out that the whole area got hit way worse than even us. We didn't have any trees fall, but looking out in the neighborhood, we saw a few trees falling and some huge limbs come off of trees and whatever else. And as the day went on, we were trying to figure things out. There wasn't a ton of food in our house to begin with. And so we had to figure out food for the day. And by dinner time, we kind of had exhausted what we could really conscionably eat, and needed to get something for our elderly neighbor. So I went driving to try and see if I could get past things to get to a Waffle House or something, because we had heard that they were giving out food, not giving out food, selling food, but like, they had no power either. Like the whole grid for Augusta is just completely knocked out. And so I went to one and they had gas and they were cooking burgers and selling them. And I bought a whole bunch and brought them back. But it was just absolute chaos getting there because no lights are working either. Right. Everything was just crazy. You had to drive around huge tree trunks on certain roads. Thankfully Waffle House is pretty close, but it was pretty terrifying, to be honest with you. And everyone's kind of looking at each other like, okay, is anyone going to panic and act crazy? And do I need to defend myself? Right. Everyone kind of had that view. And so, as the week, or as the days went on, things got really, really humid and they were really hot and just terrible and disgusting. We're trying to make sure we're taking care of our elderly neighbor. Her son is in a neighborhood where a whole bunch of houses were completely destroyed. Thankfully, his wasn't one of them, but his son-in-law's was actually pretty much totaled. And so we had to wait for him because they literally couldn't get out of their neighborhood because of the tree fall. They had to wait for people to come and clear the trees away so that they could get out. And once he did, I talked to him on the phone and talked to our neighbor. I said to our neighbor, I can get us to Alpharetta, to my mom, who has power and internet. They're doing fine and we'll be okay. She's 93. She didn't want to go. I understand. So we're staying, right? We're not just going to leave her there. And so basically we waited like 3 days or so to get her for her son to come and get her, and he took her to Lake Oconee, which is like halfway between Augusta and Atlanta. And so once that happened, we took off for Alpharetta, spent about a week with my mom. Things were generally pretty good, and I want to really thank the Brood, particularly Tom Solo and Michael Bush and a few other people for sending stuff. Some of you, I don't know who sent stuff, but a ton of people sent snacks and food and a lot of batteries that were really, really helpful, solar batteries, and will continue to be in the future to help us figure things out. They sent them to my mom's house. We got them there. And it was really humbling to see everyone kind of come together and help with that. It was really wonderful. Another side quest that ended up happening was we got to see one of Casey's friends in Winder, who is from North Carolina, but was in Georgia for a scheduled trip because she's from Georgia. And she was about 45 minutes from my mom's house. We went and saw her, and she gave us, even though her area is even more devastated, even though her town is generally okay, the area around her is super devastated, and getting to her town is a hard time. She went apparently shopping and bought us a whole bunch of stuff. This is the first time Casey had met her in person. And they had known each other a long time. And she goes way back with people that I've known through the grapevine in the Reformed Presbyterian Atlanta, groups and stuff like that. So I never knew her, but I knew of her. It's one of those things, and so that's kind of the main thrust of the story. We came back, power was back on, everything was fine. No one had done anything to the house or neighborhood or whatever. there had been some looting in some streets north and south of us, but those are all like the main highways. Most of the people were steering clear of the neighborhoods, partially for their own safety, I'm sure, but partially because you don't want to poop where you eat, so to speak, right? Like you don't want to cause mayhem in the neighborhoods, because then things go absolutely crazy. But that's the main part of the story. People started getting internet about 5 days ago. And it's slowly upticking, but there's trees piled up 10 feet high, ones you can't even wrap your arms around, just piled up on the sides of the road waiting to be hauled off. The air quality has tanked because of the CO2 emissions and all the other kinds of crazy things going on with the allergens in the air from all the fresh pine being cut and releasing all of its, stuff, all of its whatever you call it, all the seeds, and good gracious, the allergies and the mosquitoes have been unreal. We've actually had a case of West Nile virus show up in Augusta because of the amount of mosquitoes that have bred due to this event. And so that's being monitored. But Augusta was...
That's insane.
Right. Augusta was seriously affected. Now, and it's a major city and it's a whole big deal, but like, obviously, rightly so, nowhere near the media presence as places like North Carolina and Tennessee. Whole places got washed away. Just absolutely crazy. But we were already wet for several weeks, as were North Carolina and Tennessee and Northeast Georgia. And so the ridiculous nature of the storm, like speeding up after it went on land because of tornadoes, basically, that was the main kind of factor, is just absolutely insane. And when you actually look at a map, everything's moving north, right? Like almost due north at that point. There's like, it looks like scratch marks across all of Augusta. Like when you look at a helicopter map or whatever, like trees literally just like a fingers just scraped south to north. But you see what I'm saying? Like, just, it's crazy. And we were in one of those spaces between what were more than likely tornadoes. We had 2 confirmed tornadoes, I think, and about 4 or 5 others speculated in our area with that storm. And so we were literally like right between like two spots. It was crazy. I know, celebration. It's the stupid Apple thing. I put 2 fingers up and it goes and it's, there it goes. Balloons and celebrations. Yeah. Silly. Anyway.
Hey, but it makes for some funny founders conferences.
It's true. It does. That was really funny.
Oh man, I was there for that.
Yep. Oh man, for those who don't know, Founders Conference with Yonder Child Media, we had some kind of thing. Was it streaming or was it just recording on our end?
Streaming. It was streaming.
It was streaming. And one of those gestures went out. It's so dumb. Anyway, but yeah. So that's kind of the tale. And now I'm at church recording, recording Poets at War, trying to get back on track. Follow-ups, questions, thoughts about North Carolina or Tennessee or anything of that nature. You guys have been quiet listening, so just anything you want to throw out there?
It's insane how massive the destruction has been.
Yeah.
Just straight up apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And equally insane that you're like just not that the place where you live was just missed by it. Like,
yeah.
Insane whenever you
literally
see stuff
like the next block over, one street north, there's about okay, you go to the other side of the highway on that, so less than a mile, like we're talking a half mile away, 1 block west and across the highway north, there's a street, Sibley Road, that had about 4 or 5 houses completely destroyed on it, less than half a mile away. Like,
how completely destroyed are you talking?
I'm talking 4 or 5 trees inside of it through the roof. And I'm talking trees that you can wrap your arms around. You can't wrap your arms around, right?
Yeah. There's just multiple levels of completely destroyed whenever you're talking about tornadoes. You have completely destroyed flooding.
Right.
You have completely destroyed.
Right.
There's stuff in the place. And then you have completely destroyed. There's a slab and a gas meter.
Or there's that town in Southern Carolina,
Chimney Rock,
that does not exist. Like,
yeah, Chimney
you
Rock.
see the before and after pictures. There's a picture of a street and houses and buildings, and the after is there's tree debris.
Yeah, there's
you can't
pictures
even see the houses of the
all
road.
over. There's pictures all over Chimney Rock like that. There was one that I saw that actually had one yellow house with a cement base at the bottom of a creek, like at the, you know, a few feet from a creek. It was like built into the creek, like up, you know, kind of as the not only is all the other buildings around there completely gone and this little yellow house still there, but the actual road itself is completely washed out. But that one little yellow house is still there. It's like absolutely nuts.
So what I'm hearing is we need to buy this little yellow house and turn it into Brood HQ because it's never going away.
Right. But
also, how terrifying would it be to be in that one house? It's like, the Jeffersons' house is gone. The Franklins are gone.
Now they're moving on up. Anyway, sorry.
Rose Street is gone.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
Dang.
But no,
there's still the death toll on some was what, like over 200, right?
In Augusta alone, I think we had somewhere around 50 people, which is insane for a storm.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. But the you know, I made the reference on Facebook to I See Fire. One of the annoying things getting back and taking care of my family after all this is I've wanted to go and help, but I know that I would be a liability more than a help because of my current physicality. I'm not in shape. I'm not able to really do a whole lot, but I know a lot of amazing churches, even ones from Atlanta area and Augusta area, that are doing fantastic work and sending people. And praise God for the free expression of the Christian religion in America.
Amen,
because we would be absolutely screwed to high heaven otherwise. So, and even here, it's crazy. Now, the problem here is, we've got the mentality, most of the people's mentality is take everything you possibly can from everybody. What's up? You seeing something?
Yeah, I looked up what the deadliest storm in history was.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Bahia cyclone.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the 20th in October 1970. It struck the city that is now Bangladesh and killed 300,000 people.
Yep, I knew about that one.
What?
Yep,
that's insane.
Yep,
300,000.
Yeah, just astronomical.
That's like that movie 2012, like just
Yep.
That's I never heard of that.
The yeah, I made reference to I See Fire on Facebook because I have been really feeling for Appalachia and the people up there, and you know, while the thing about Georgia is it's especially Atlanta, it's the crossroads of everything. I grew up in north of Atlanta, and those really are the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. A lot of people go, it's not Appalachia. It is, culturally, it is where the Deep South and Appalachia meet, and the East Coast. So there's even East Coast sensibilities that you only get like further toward the coast that still exist in Atlanta because of its proximity. It's the crossroads of everything in the South. And Augusta is a big part of that. There's a lot more East Coast vibes here because we're halfway between here, Atlanta and Charleston. And so there's a lot. Do what?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have more East Coast than where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But that's the thing. I have less Appalachia here, which has been hard. And Appalachia is, I've come to realize in many ways more of my culture than even the Deep South in a lot of ways. I've thought that for a long time. I love the mountains. I've always been a mountain person. I'm not as interested in the coast or the beaches and things. I want to see mountains, Gandalf. But I reference I See Fire on Facebook, particularly, "O misty eye of the mountain below, keep careful watch o'er my brother's souls. And if the sky be filled with fire and smoke, keep watching over Durin's sons." That's really the heart of what I've been feeling with this whole thing, and just praying and trying to have a good attitude here, because everyone is taking everything they possibly can as far as handouts, and everyone is angry about the level of handouts, even from churches. And for example, you guys know Diddy's best friend TD Jakes, right? You guys, you know
the thing.
Do you know about TD Jakes?
I didn't know he had a relationship with Diddy.
Yes, and he has for quite some time. I'll get into that in just a second. Brendan and Daniel, just for your sake, TD Jakes is a prosperity preacher, been around a long time. Knox references him on Cross Politics sometimes with his like gold hallelujah on his soundboard, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, he's looking it up and seeing this. No, TD Jakes has been friends with Sean Combs for a very long time, and it's been talked about and implicated that he has been cleaning money through his church for Diddy for a very long time. So that's fun. But anyway, TD Jakes was if I don't know if he was here in Augusta or not, but his ministry connected thing here in Augusta was doing some big, huge handout downtown. So much so that the line backed up from downtown about 15 miles to close to our neighborhood. And they had a handout there in what they call the Southgate Plaza, which is an old supermarket, shopping center. Right. And people were confused about which line was for the TD Jakes thing, which was like 15 miles away, and the Southgate Plaza. So it was causing all kinds of ridiculous traffic just because you had hundreds of cars trying to get handouts.
Narrate.
And other than what the Brood has done for us, we have taken nothing on purpose to the best of our ability. Because we don't need it.
Yep.
And so that's really the big thing that we're battling here in Augusta.
Where it will eventually control.
What's that?
What's the old line? Whatever the government pays for, it will eventually control.
Right. Exactly. So, and also we don't need it. God has richly provided. So, yeah. Well, I mean, we can get further into that, or go to my creative thing, or go to Daniel's thing, or the poetry the poetry boot camp stuff. What do you guys want to do?
I'm good with
up for anything.
Personally.
Okay. Why don't we do some homeschool Harry Potter? Alex, why don't you bring up what you got going on, if you have hands free enough to do so?
Already posted the map in Visual Art.
Okay.
So this is the it's a JPEG. It's 3 megs. So you'll have to download it to view it because it's too big for Discord to just natively display. But this is the map with the border, with the political borders.
Where did you
Is
say
the
you
idea that
posted?
I have.
See the map
It's
gif.
visual art.
I got it. Hold on.
Yes,
Visual art.
Debbie has been posting Dora the Explorer references anytime I post about the map.
Right. I gotcha. Okay. And we've shown this map before. I'll try to remember to put it in here for the viewers on YouTube. But
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, the obviously it's very loosely based off of Europe. So you can see the analog to the Italian peninsula. You can see the analog to the Arabian Peninsula, whatever the French peninsula is. England's moved down. Iceland is way closer to the mainland. And Scandinavia is far more of a landmass than a swamp.
Right.
But all in all, I think that I've kept it in such a way that we can pretty easily analog this. Now, we said that we would be setting it in a Germany-like area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the idea that we had. And so if you see this mountain range, so the mountain range in mainland Europe, you've got the little one all the way to the right. Then you have the second one that has the highest point in the highest point in the area. That country right there that has like half of that big lake, that's where I'm thinking that we'll set it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so bad with geography. Which quadrant? Which quadrant am I looking at?
Quadrant.
Okay. So you are looking at one sec. Actually, I should be able to share my screen here.
That would be nice because then I don't have to edit.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that.
While you're doing that, I have made a breakthrough on some stuff, and I'll just tease this here in regard to poetry and songwriting and lyric videos for said thing. So we'll get back to that soon here, but all right, let's look at.
Can you see it?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and just loading. Yep, I see it.
Okay, sorry, Zell moved my mic. Okay, so you see, so obviously we have our Scandinavia analog up here: Iceland, England, France, Spain, Portugal. This is the Iberian Peninsula, Italian Peninsula. This is our analog for the Alps. I figure that this country will be our analog for Switzerland. There's Lake Geneva right there.
Okay.
Because I really want to have Lake Geneva and have some interesting stuff going on with that, because Geneva is obviously like the Reformation, Calvin, you have all of that stuff there, but then later on, you also have the writing of Frankenstein happening there. And so I figure having that be a thing. Also, that lake happens to be on the intersection of the three tectonic plates, or the three of the tectonic plates in this continent. So I figure magical stuff will be happening there a lot. Assuming that that's fine. But this is this country right here is what I'm thinking for Germany. Okay. This is where it takes place. So we've got this swampy land right here. So it's going to be out on the edge here. And then as we get higher up, we can have King's Eyrie, like wherever we want to have it. But that's my thought. What do we think about this?
I have no problem with that. I think it looks good.
Cool.
I've always been bad with like geography stuff. Like as soon as we get the map out, my eyes start glazing over. As much as I want to like not to, I'm just like things happened in a place. Okay.
I know when I see a bad map. This is not a bad map.
Yeah,
It's
no. Like I would know if it was a bad.
Yeah.
I like that it does feel like an analog to the real world, and whenever I look at it, I'm already like, even a non-map person is like, yeah, like that's fantasy Europe.
So, I've got a couple other storytelling details that I've worked into the borders specifically. So you see this massive kerfuffle right here
Yes.
with all of the tiny countries?
Yes.
I figure this is one of those things where like all of the tribes of this area banded together and cut out a area that they could control. And then all of the tribes, as soon as they won the battle and pushed back all the people, just started infighting and separating off into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller chunks.
Yep.
So this is tribal warlord infighting land right here, right next to Germany.
Attention, fearless warriors of artistic prowess. Take a breather as we navigate the treacherous waters of commercials. Attention, all creative forces. The Poets at War Creative Network is calling you to the front lines of faith and artistry. From our command post, we're broadcasting a different strategic operation each week. The General's Report, poetic essays from the trenches of Christian creativity. Creators and Crusaders, interrogating the finest minds on the artistic battlefield. Poetry Bootcamp, forging the weapons of modern epic verse. The Broodcast, our covert gathering of literary commandos. And stand by for special deployments, Burnt Marshwiggle, navigating the theological quagmire. And Jubal's Wardrobe, sonic and visual artillery direct from HQ. The war of ideas rages on, and we need every creative mind on deck. Tune in every Friday to join our ranks. Your orders are as following. Be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you in the trenches on the Poets at War Creative Network.
Hello, I'm Sarah Levesque, Editor-in-Chief of Logo Sophia magazine. I would like to invite you to explore our Pilgrim's Journal of Life, Love, and Literature, both in visual format and in podcast format. Our goal is to help bridge the gaps between different Christian denominations and traditions. Please visit our website at logosophiamag.com to read or listen to stories, articles, poetry, and more, all for free. We look forward to journeying with you.
Citizens of the free world, sound the alarm! This is your cultural dispatch from the front lines of creativity. General Joshua David Ling and his valiant Poets at War are locked in an epic struggle against the unholy trinity of artistic oppression. First, we face the insidious forces of boredom, turning free minds into enslaved masses. Second, the creeping plague of mediocrity, shackling storytellers with the chains of the mundane. And finally, lurking behind it all, the ultimate adversary, Satan himself, weaponizing tedium to ensnare the world in sin and sloth. But fear not, our band of bards stands ready, armed in the military styling of Tolkien and Lewis to combat the axis of ennui. Introducing Feed the Bard, one important way to support the ongoing efforts of your Poets at War. Your support keeps the Poets at War Creative Network a bastion of artistic freedom, accessible to all. From epic poetry to stirring stories, we are crafting art that shatters the shackles of the humdrum. Though our fellowship may be small, our art strikes with the force of Andúril itself. Every coin you contribute arms our volunteers with provisions to keep their artillery aimed at the enemy and encouraging your hearts. Remember, we're fighting for the tales that truly matter. Stories that awaken the soul and kindle the imagination. By supporting Feed the Bard, you're not merely helping General Ling. You're joining a quest to reclaim the realms of Christian artistry with unmatched style and substance. So take up arms, brave patrons. Feed the Bard today, and let us vanquish the forces of dullness with the combined powers of truth, beauty, and goodness. To support, please visit joshuadavidling.com/feedthebard. Feed the Bard, tuppence a bag. Soldiers, reclaim your positions. We've emerged unscathed from the commercial onslaught to continue our noble quest on Poets at War.
Yep.
You'll see a couple of straight lines throughout the entire map, which do not occur in nature or generally speaking in nations today, with the exceptions being
the
like
States.
America.
Yeah, the States.
And the idea that I have is that all of the straight lines are modern borders. So
Okay.
all of the like most of the lines are curvy. Most of the lines are this is how nations actually form. Like they're based around the rivers, they're based around like geographical landmarks and all that type of stuff. But in more recent times, there have been like splits and revolutions and stuff like that. And after the dust is settled, they've come together to draw borders, and they've just drawn straight line.
Right.
So you can see right here, there's a straight line. You can see right here, this country was split in two with a straight line. This one has straight lines right here. There's honestly very few of them that have straight lines, but they do exist because these are the countries that have like been modernized. And I figure we can do some really interesting stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question.
Yes, please.
This is a question for all of y'all, not just Alexander. Do you want there to be World War II?
Yes.
Because if you do, and if this is taking place in fantasy Germany, that's going to change and cause a lot of social dynamics, particularly with other countries, but with how the magical community could be viewed.
I think that we need to have a much further discussion of that on an actual poetry boot camp. But the preliminary in my mind is there was an uprising and Germany put it down themselves. Right. There was a Führer, roughly the amount of time ago, but Germany actually stood up for itself and, did what they needed to do to put them down. That's my instinct, right? That's just an instinctual answer. I think this needs to be a place that's like an idyllic fantasy Germany, but still, but yeah, go ahead.
What time period are we setting this? Because I was imagining that we were setting this like
that's another question.
Maybe like 1800s, like burgeoning the Revolution, post-Renaissance, pre-Industrial Revolution, that type of era.
Somewhere between
what I was imagining.
Somewhere between 1700 and 1850, roughly, as far as technology goes, is what I would say.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
I'm not sure you're going to have straight line borders
at that point. With the advance of magic, you could, though.
I guess.
And like the first straight line borders were, as far as I can tell, were America dealing with England. So that was the 1770s.
That's true. But you didn't have them common until the American West.
No.
Which was, still rough. Still before 1850.
But like, the Ohio Territory is what I'm specifically thinking. Like the Ohio Territory, you have straight lines forming up there. If I'm remembering my geographical history correctly.
That's correct. Historically, yes, that the Ohio Territory was had some straight lines. But also just like the way they demarcated things in the Louisiana territories before the U.S. even purchased it were straight lines in a lot of cases. So,
because you're dealing with the French Revolution and the invention of the metric system, which I'm still not convinced is not demonic.
What if France was Germany? Like the revolution went further and kept the 10-day week and all that other kind of stuff.
That'd be interesting. I like that. I really like that. Especially if we're setting it in like the early 1800s, because what was it? George Grant, I was listening to something and he said that the 1800s was the 1800s was the century of the revolution.
Mm-hmm.
The 19th century was the century of revolution, because there were revolutions flipping everywhere. Like all of Europe had a revolution in the 1800s.
To be clear, I really, as far as naming countries goes, I don't want to name anything what it is, but I want it to be somewhat clear analogically. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. That was the issue that I was trying to figure out, which is why I wanted to get some like figuring out here. I have chat.
Feel free to jump in, Daniel,
83.
as well. Yeah, like feel free to jump in on this.
ChatGPT generate 83 different names because we have 83 countries to name.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is not super fun.
My method for naming things, we went around in high school, we were naming countries for a world we were making. And we found a plastic Nerf gun, so we said Gunaplast. And like we just went around the room taking inspiration from our environment. It was like there's ibuprofen, so it's just like Profen Ibu.
You just pig Latin all of the words.
More or less.
I will also say, as far as naming is concerned, I know you said you want it to be obvious, but it doesn't need to be because you already have the map. Now, how many people are going to actually look at the map for an epic poem?
Hopefully a lot.
Not me.
But furthermore, I'm going to go with Alex. I'm going to remind you what you said to me on the thing we recorded, in that people will be conditioned and will understand as they live in the system.
Right.
You said that in regards to rolling low is good for some game systems you have played. I'm going to say people will figure out that this is a Germany analog, but as long as they are participating in the poem by actually listening to it, actively listening to it.
Well, when I said that, I meant
have to be close.
Well, what I meant was not that the names would be close necessarily, but they would be kind of like a wink and a nod to the nations. For example, Germany could be, I don't know, Bavaris. You know what I mean? Like it would have like the word Bavaria kind of nestled in there, you know, and it's just kind of a wink and a nod, right? I don't necessarily mean like this, it's going to be like Germanistia, you know, or something like that. Like I want it to be fun and clever and just give the feel like a wink and a nod toward, you know, but that's me, you know, this is our project.
The thing that I asked ChatGPT to do, I said, can you please generate 100 names for nations in a fantasy universe that is heavily based off of Europe? And so I have like a list of 20 names based off of northern and western Europe. I have 20 names based off of Central and Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, British Isles, Celtic inspired, mythical and hybrid inspirations.
Yeah. Any good ones?
So I think that there's some. Let's see here. I like Velmora.
Okay.
Gorfinwall, Aravale. I think Aravale is a really cool name.
These are sounding decent.
There's actually a bunch of them that are really good. Brisfelt, Stormwald is like more fantasy than I think we're going for. So is Frostguard, but Wessendorf isn't.
I like
Wessendorf. Also sounds more like a city though.
It sounds Germanish. Yeah, it does sound more like a city, but yeah.
Yeah.
This Dorf is town.
Yes.
Weaseldorf.
You have Falderland. That sounds German.
Yes.
Falderland.
Falderland.
Yeah. But yeah, like there's a bunch of them on here, and then I asked it to make a list of 18 tribes for that like little area that's all sectioned off. So instead of having that be like you have a country name for it, but everybody who's been to the country knows that's not the way that works, and so you have the different tribe names and stuff.
Right.
So
okay,
I've done that. I just wanted to make sure that me going through and naming stuff like that aren't important countries, like all the little ones. Everybody would be good with me just using the ChatGPT names. We may want to like specifically make a name for the Germany analog, the France analog, the Switzerland analog, the Spain analog.
Right.
But like Brussels and trying trying to think of other small European countries, and I
Oh,
am
it's
not
Sprouts.
braining right now.
Right.
Yes.
Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luxembourg, Monaco, those type of countries. Like we don't we can just reference back to, oh yeah, that's what this one is. And then we can just hold ourselves to whatever the random chat GPT names were.
Did we cover most of the questions you wanted to address in this, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
That's everything. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't like world building without you guys too much.
Sure. In that case, those who want to listen to Poetry Boot Camp, those who want to listen to Poetry Boot Camp in the future, that is Daniel, me, and Alex creating an epic poem. That's the third Friday of every month. Cool. That was just a sample of it for you all listening to Burnt Marshwiggle. So, any which way, Daniel, what do you need as a kick in the pants?
So
outside of like all the normal stuff,
yeah,
specifically creative.
Yeah. So for our listeners, I am currently in the process of writing my first like full-length novel. It's intended for middle grade fantasy, so like young adult fantasy, primarily geared towards children of like 8 to 12 and their families. It's called Maiden Child. It follows Katira, a midwife who finds herself in the middle of a time of great political strife, and she finds herself in the charge of the future heir to the throne and all that entails. So she is the primary safeguarding force of the future of this nation. So it's a lot. There's a lot of moving pieces. My brother and I, we have been working on this story for years, and he's finally come around and more or less entrusted me to bring it to life. So like he's still going to work with me as like a co-author, but he's more concerned about the mythology, the world, the lore, the things that go bump in the night. So we're going to have The Maiden's Child as the main cohesive story, then a sequel series, Legacy of Crowns, and a like a mythology book almost akin to something like the Silmarillion, but more think Grimm's fairy tales, called Legends of the Path. So right now what I'm working on is the Maiden's Child, and we have a lot that's happened in the first few chapters, but I'm trying to figure out how to like actually slow down and make sure my readers know what's happening in the world. Because I have main criticisms that I've been getting in critiques is I'm very this happened. And they're all interesting things, but I need more than just the events, the order of events. I need to be able to delve into like the psychology of these characters and present how they interpret the world around them. So I've started using like ABA techniques that I'm learning from my work into my storytelling as much as possible. I'll try to ground the character by like 5 things they can see, 4 things they can hear, 3 things they can smell, 2 things that they can feel, and like 1 thing that they can taste. Stuff like that, but that only gets me so far. So, yes, how do I more effectively introduce my protagonist and world? I just wrote some questions on a whiteboard. Hopefully those make sense.
Brendan is blown away by something.
Alex, every frame of painting dropped a new video essay 8 days ago.
No way!
Yeah. It's just called What Would Billy Wilder Do?
What?
I need to watch that later.
Okay.
Anyway,
we should watch it on stream together after we're done recording.
Yeah.
All right. The reason, okay, if you're probably wondering why I'm talking about that, is because I was trying to find a specific every frame of painting video that I can't find right now, but he's talking about storytelling structure, and he says there are two things that you need. You need but, therefore, not, and then.
Okay, let me actually write that down. But
dash therefore. And then meanwhile back at the ranch.
And then the second one is meanwhile
back at the ranch. What those two things mean, and by the way, go just binge watch every frame of painting video. It'll teach you more about storytelling than anything else.
Gotcha.
But I think it's it's how to structure a video essay. I've got it right here.
Okay.
But you can use this for anything. But but therefore means that your events shouldn't be this, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened.
Yeah.
What you want is this happened, but this happened. Meaning there's an interjection. There's an interjection. Something stops it. You got that with they are traveling on their carriage coach with the woman. But the goblins attack. Therefore, that's where the therefore comes in. The but happens. Therefore, as a result of that, the story shifts. But the woman goes into labor. Therefore, the midwives start kicking into high gear and doing her job. But do you see what's happening?
Yeah.
That's how you get people. That's how you don't think of it as just and then, right? The other side, which I just need to link this. Hang on. I'm going to link this in the. I will link this in the
Green
show
Dragon?
chat. I could link it. Yeah, I could link it in Green Dragon. Sure.
That way, anyone who's listening and is part of the brood, they can go look it up. Yep. Mm-hmm. If you're not part of the brood,
the other one is
you go ahead and DM me or go to my website, check it out. joshuadavidling.com/brood, and you can check out where to join there and follow the instructions. Anyway, go ahead.
The other thing, meanwhile, back at the ranch, that is something that you get, and it's easily, it's most easily explained with Star Wars. And the idea is you follow one of the characters, say Luke, going to train with Yoda, and and that story arc is going to follow, and it's going to reach a peak interest. And at that point, people are going to start getting bored, and they're going to start tuning out. So what you do is right as it reaches peak interest, you say, meanwhile, back at the ranch, and you flip over to Han and Leia flying in the Millennium Falcon with the Wookiee. You need I would argue what you could do is you could get a second set of characters. I know it's meant to follow.
Yeah. See, I have some plans for actually introducing a secondary character. It's hard because it's like we have listeners, and it's like, how much do I actually want to say and not spoil?
That's okay.
It's fine. By the time I've published it, the things I have right now are probably going to be much different.
Right, but my point is, have a second set of characters doing a second set of things.
Yeah.
And have that, and you can use that to explain what's going on in the world.
So
that is a solution. It's not the only one, but it's a solution.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of already with you there, and so I'm thinking once I've gotten to a good stopping point with Katira, or maybe a good cliffhanger, I will switch over actually to the other side of this conflict. There's always like this darker underbelly with the story. The stories Aaron and I have written. It's a big, just a big part of that world is that evil is very real and is very present. And what are the implications for characters who are all caught up in that? And so one of the main antagonists is going to be Carlos, and so I want to give him some perspective chapters, if not directly him, people around him, to give kind of a an understanding of who that character is without it kind of turning into oh, now we're rooting for the bad guy. Like, I see so much of that I don't want to. I do want to humanize him so you understand, but I want to keep it pretty obvious as like he is kind of just on a crusade of revenge and evil. Yeah. So he's the main idea for a secondary perspective that I have, with the like overarching theme of this book being mercy, forgiveness, and that like divine attributes given to the like feminine aspects of the world, where you might see in another story a fight at the finale. This, you may see something totally different and restorative, where there might be fights, kind of you reach a crescendo in this way, but like there's another melody.
Yeah, I'm following what you're saying.
The narrative. Yeah, so like I want to show like how those two things can work in tandem. So it's like it's not like a limp-wristed, no adventure story, but it is a epic fantasy that follows the midwife. And
so yeah, does that kind of get your juices flowing a little bit? And we can still talk afterward, but I got one more thing for the show, and then we can probably wrap up.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just, how do I? Yeah, I'm just. What are some ideas? Because right now they're just kind of traveling, and I need ideas for like things that might happen on their journey to. So they're at the
find a D&D random encounter overland travel table. Roll some dice.
Okay,
that's not a bad idea. As far as generating ideas for things to encounter on travel, one of the series that I would highly recommend if you haven't seen it is Over the Garden Wall. It's a great thing to see during this time of year. It's a very autumnal animated miniseries.
Yeah.
Very, very good, because they do a lot of crazy, wacky ideas kind of along a journey. And it might at least spark some interest in that regard.
Yeah.
And also, of course, Narnia and Rings are great walking, talking, eating books. That's just what they are. So, and I know you're reading Lord of the Rings right now, so there you go.
Yeah.
I just restarted Fellowship.
Nice.
Gonna try to get through all three before the end of the year.
I just did the Barrow-wights with Hazel. So we just got through the Barrow-wight chapters, and he is currently leading them on Fatty Lumpkin out of his land. So, Fatty Lumpkin is one of the greatest names Tolkien ever wrote.
Brendan was gonna say something about Daniel's. How do you figure out stuff to do?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're thinking about this wrong.
Yeah.
Every scene that you have should either be driving the plot forward or exist to drive the character arcs.
That's right? Okay. Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. I need more character arcs.
And arguably, like I'm a world builder at heart, and I hate saying this. Do not use travel scenes to world build.
Right.
Like, I mean, you can, but your world building has to be secondary to characters, because people don't get invested in worlds. I'm sorry.
That's right.
The only people who get invested in worlds are nerds.
Yeah.
And there are 4 of us here, but
but I'm a character nerd. Let's be real.
But for most people, what they care about, the things that they click with, are the characters.
That's right.
So when you are writing your scenes, that's why I said make sure you have a but therefore. Because every scene, you have limited attention span on people. And not only do you have limited attention span on people, they have a million things that are trying to vie for their attention. So you need to make sure that whatever you write is going
Yeah.
to stick. So make
Yeah.
sure that whatever scene you write is either doing a but therefore for the character arc or doing a but therefore for the overall plot.
Alex?
Yeah. To go to go on with what Brendan was saying about don't use travel for world building. The only way you should use travel for world building is if you're trying to show that this character knows a lot about the world that he lives in. The perfect example of that, to my mind, is in a highly underrated book called The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. To anyone listening or watching this, go read the entire Queen of Atolia series. It's amazing. But the book is basically just one long travel scene of this mage and this soldier escorting a thief to a ruined temple. And along the way, the thief is saying, "You guys are stupid. Why in the world are you doing any of this for the government? All we have to do is survive." And the mage is saying, "You don't know the stories, do you?" And he's actually explaining, this is the forest where thing happened. And that's building his character and Jen's character throughout the entire book. It's an excellent book, but that's... honestly, I'd recommend that you read that to get some ideas on how to do travel stuff. Because the book is like 90% travel, and it's really, really good. So and the sequels are way better.
I will say, if you want an example of an event that happens while people are traveling, go listen to the last broadcast when everybody left and listen to my portion, because I have a scene in there that happens while people are traveling on a road. But it's while they're camping at night and not actually traveling.
I did go back and listen to it, and I do have thoughts for you, just like you asked. But we can get that later.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I have other questions, but we can move on.
Okay. Last thing I have, I had some major breakthroughs with writing for my stories. Writing, but also structure and purpose. I was able to take for those of you who know, a little while ago, I took The Prophecy, which is a major part. It's the first chapter in the Guardians of Atlanta, and I made it a song, and I did that for just giggles, whatever, just to play with, and play with Suno, play with AI, play with songwriting, and try to turn it into something that sounded like a mix between Johnny Cash and Stevie Ray Vaughan. I did a vocal cover and have received universal acclaim from people as far as that goes. But then I went, okay, the problem with that one is, in many cases, the structure. But I think the structure really shouldn't change for that one. The structure of that one is pretty set in stone as far as my poetry. And I think the song did a good job warping the music around the poetry. But the second chapter, just to try it, I went and I said, okay, but I don't want the music to wrap around this one, because the structure of what happens in this poem, the headband, for those wondering, is very similar to what you would see in a normal verse, chorus, bridge, chorus country song. And so I rewrote it with the same story points and everything else, but with that verse, chorus, bridge, chorus situation. And it turned out far better than the original poem. And I recreated it in Suno, and I'm working on a vocal cover. Casey has told me for years and years and years, after she told me the first time she read 3 poems out of Guardians of Atlanta, she said, they're songs. These are songs. You're going to be a singer. You're going to sing these songs and tell the stories. You're a storyteller, songwriter. And I was like, yeah, I like the epic poetry. And I still do. Don't get me wrong. Still doing epic poetry because that's the backbone of it all. But I'm definitely playing with it and created a lyric video structure and quite possibly might begin very soon releasing one lyric video song once a week, in addition to Poets at War once things get going further. Jubal's Wardrobe is the artist name, and I'm hoping to eventually get to where I can drop them to proper streaming platforms and perform them. And so there's a lot that's going into that, a lot I don't want to show yet, a lot I don't want y'all to hear yet, but I am seriously playing with this stuff, and I'm good enough with songwriting in its own right that I can use the AI just as brainstorming. I can re-record stuff if I need to. I can change things. I can completely take a song structure that it gives me and change it. I can at the chord level. I have the ability to do all that. And so this is just opening up a whole other avenue for me to where I might be releasing a song a week. Because I really do think I can do it and do it well at that pace. So I'm crazy excited about that prospect, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, but yeah, that's just the teaser for people in the future. We might be releasing as early as Monday for the first one, which, that was the other thing. I wrote a theme song for Guardians of Atlanta and essentially want to put a short version of that theme song at the beginning of like an album version on YouTube, that once, you have all the songs released, over the course of, whatever, you have a theme song that actually goes into each and every chapter, and they're lyric videos. So, with proper lyric videos, really nicely made lyric videos. So might be really exciting. Just saying. Alex looks excited.
Nice.
So
very.
So
very
yeah,
excited.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah. So working on it. Bear with me. Obviously things are crazy. YouTube Shorts. That was the other thing. YouTube Shorts is now 3 minutes as of today. So yeah, exactly.
Wait, like you can have 3-minute YouTube Shorts?
Yeah. The lowest common denominator for me now, and I'm not changing per platform at the moment. I will if things start ticking up on YouTube more than the others, but the lowest common denominator now is Meta, which is Instagram and Facebook, is 90 seconds. So that's the smallest short length on any of the major platforms now, is 90 seconds. So that's changing.
Maximum short length.
Right. Well, the lowest common denominator,
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so that's changing up a bunch of my workflow for shorts and things, and I've just been really kind of engaged because of workflow changes and other things. What can I do with the data that I have on my phone? What can I play with? And all this hurricane stuff is kind of okay. That worked really, really well. I'll definitely share the headband with you guys, the AI version, not on the podcast, but with you three, excuse me, later on. But we're going to go ahead and sign off on the show. Does anyone want to say anything about what they want to plug or last words before I sign off?
I don't have anything to plug yet. So.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, be in prayer for all of us. We're all dealing with all kinds of crazy stuff right now. Alex with being newly married and fixing up an old house. Brendan with jobs and works and monies and moving into a new house. And Daniel with still fairly new job that you're still getting used to, along with trying to be creative and college. So we really appreciate the prayer. Be in the brood. Come on, join the brood. I told you, joshuadavidling.com/brood. Support your artists, even if you're not an artist. If you're an artist and need support, come on over. Lots and lots of fun, lots of prayer, lots of help. real tangible help for me this past couple of weeks, and it's been crazy. So everybody, be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
Marshwiggle, still standing strong in a world of doubt. I'll keep marching on. Faith over fiction, hope over fear. Even in darkness, Narnia's still here.
This has been Burnt Marshwiggle, hosted by Joshua David Ling and Alexander Robertson. A long-form podcast about metaphysics and swampy stuff. Whenever the heck they want to make one. Here on the Poets at War Creative Network.